Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The city awoke under a gray sky, the streets damp from the night's rain that had yet to stop falling. Naomi Harper moved slowly forward in her wheelchair, her gloved hands gripping the armrests. Her rounded belly, a sign of 8 months of pregnancy, seemed to weigh even more than usual, but she moved forward with determination. Each movement reminded her how dependent she was on others and how fragile life could be. Naomi wasn't alone in her thoughts. She was thinking of Marcus, her husband, an FBI agent, always vigilant and protective. She was thinking of their future child, of that little life growing inside her, a life that would depend on the strength and justice the adult world could offer. The fear of being alone didn't truly exist, because she knew she had someone ready to do anything to protect her. But she didn't know that the real test was about to begin, right there on this seemingly quiet street. Dylan Cooper, a city police officer, had noticed Naomi a few moments ago. His gaze, filled with suspicion and prejudice, fixed on her. Naomi hadn't done anything wrong, she was simply on her way to her clinic, but for Cooper, her dark skin and her presence in this upscale neighborhood were enough to arouse irrational hostility. As she crossed the intersection, Cooper quickly approached, ordering Naomi to stop her wheelchair. Surprised, Naomi raised her hands in a gesture of non-aggression and tried to speak. "Excuse me, sir. I'm pregnant, I'm going to a doctor's appointment." But her words fell on deaf ears. Cooper, refusing to listen, tried to grab her and force her down from her chair. Naomi tensed, breathless, her heart pounding wildly. Passers-by stopped, some pulling out their phones, others paralyzed by the horror of the scene. Miles away, Marcus Harper, sitting in his office at the FBI, received a quick, frantic call. His wife's trembling voice came through the line, and he knew instantly that something wrong and dangerous was happening. His blood ran cold, but his resolve strengthened. He wouldn't let anyone touch Naomi, especially not a gunman driven by hatred. This fateful encounter on the street, between a policeman blinded by his prejudices and a pregnant woman in a wheelchair, would trigger a chain of events that would not only shatter their lives but also expose the shadows of racial injustice and institutional brutality. Naomi, both fragile and strong, would become the symbol of a fight she never chose but would be forced to wage. The rain had stopped, but the ground remained slippery and glistening under the streetlights. Naomi Harper moved slowly forward, each wheel of her wheelchair leaving a wet track on the pavement. She breathed deeply, trying to calm the fatigue weighing on her body and the anxiety rising in her chest. Her medical appointment was routine, but today the air felt heavy, thick with unseen tension. Suddenly, a hoarse voice rang out behind her. "Hey, you! Stop!" Naomi turned around and saw police officer Dylan Cooper advance quickly, his face contorted with inexplicable hostility. His eyes did not see a pregnant, vulnerable woman sitting in a chair, they saw only a suspect to be judged. "Excuse me, sir, I'm just going to a doctor's appointment," said Naomi, her voice trembling but firm. Cooper didn't respond. He suddenly tried to grab her and pull her out of her chair. Naomi screamed, her body tensing in surprise and pain. The chair rolled in place, sliding slightly on the wet floor, as she tried to protect herself. Passers-by began to gather. Some were filming with their phones, others watched, shocked and helpless. An old man stepped forward to say something, but Cooper brushed him aside with an authoritative gesture. Naomi, breathing heavily, took out her phone and quickly dialed Marcus's number. Her voice trembled, but she managed to whisper. "Marcus, it's Cooper, he's forcing me." On the other side of the line, Marcus Harper felt his blood boil. There was no doubt, Cooper was crossing all boundaries. Without thinking, he grabbed his belongings, took his badge and gun, and rushed toward the street where Naomi was being attacked. Every passing second felt like an eternity. Cooper, ignoring the plea, continued to push Naomi, trying to pull her out of her wheelchair. The wheels slipped on the wet pavement. Naomi screamed, but her voice was lost in the noise of traffic and passers-by. Her hands desperately tried to protect her stomach, to maintain her dignity in the face of this unjust assault. Then, a loud voice rang out behind Cooper. "Let her go." Marcus had just arrived, his gaze burning with anger and authority. Every muscle in his body was tense, ready to intervene, but he knew he had to remain strategic. He advanced calmly, but with a clear weight in his voice. "You have no right to touch my wife. None whatsoever." For the first time, Cooper seemed to hesitate, confronted by federal authority and the mounting tension of the scene. Passers-by held their breath. Naomi, panting, felt a mixture of fear and relief. Marcus was there. But the danger was not yet over. The confrontation had only just begun. Marcus Harper stepped forward with a firm but measured stride. His eyes were fixed on Dylan Cooper, reading the man's every move to anticipate the slightest aggression. He knew every gesture mattered. Naomi, still in her armchair, watched him with a glimmer of mingled hope and fear. Her breath was short, her hands trembled slightly, but she felt that Marcus was there to protect her. "Mr. Cooper, I advise you to step back immediately. You have no authority here against a federal agent, and even less the right to touch a pregnant woman," Marcus said in a firm but controlled voice. Cooper, red with anger and pride, wanted to reply, but Marcus didn't give him the chance. With calculated speed, Marcus positioned himself between Naomi and the police officer. Every passerby on the street held their breath, aware that the situation could escalate at any moment. "You see that woman?" Marcus continued, his voice amplified by the natural authority he exuded. "That's my wife. She's 8 months pregnant. And you're trying to assault her for no reason, simply because she's black." Cooper's face tightened. The crowd began to murmur, some expressing their outrage, others filming every move. The shadow of police brutality that many knew was suddenly brought into sharp focus. Marcus knew he had to keep his cool, because any violent reaction from him could be exploited. As Marcus spoke, Naomi managed to sit up slightly, gripping the edge of the chair with her hands. "Marcus, thank you. I thought I was going to." She trailed off, unable to finish, but her eyes said it all. Marcus took out his phone and called his immediate superior at the FBI, informing headquarters of the ongoing assault. He knew that official intervention was necessary to protect his wife and document the incident. Sirens began to wail in the distance, signaling the imminent arrival of reinforcements. Caught between the pressure of the crowd, Marcus's authority, and the awareness that this incident could destroy his career, Cooper slowly backed away. He left Naomi alone, but his face reflected an anger that wouldn't easily subside. Marcus knelt beside Naomi, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now. I'll never let anyone hurt you." Naomi took a deep breath, her eyes filling with tears of relief and gratitude. But Marcus knew this confrontation was only the beginning. Injustice had just been stopped on that street, but the consequences for Cooper and Naomi went far beyond. Every move had been recorded, every word heard, and soon the whole world would know what had happened. That day, Marcus understood that protecting his family did not only mean intervening physically, he also had to fight for the truth, for justice, and for Naomi's voice to be heard. Night was falling on the city, and the streetlights cast halos of light on the still damp pavement. Naomi had gone home, still shaken, wrapped in the soft blanket Marcus had immediately prepared. But immediate safety was only a partial victory. The incident in the street was not over. Marcus sat down at his computer, reviewing videos filmed by passers-by and the security system of the nearby clinic. Each image showed the same thing: Dylan Cooper attempting to assault Naomi, ignoring her protests and her pregnancy. Anger and frustration boiled within him, but he knew he had to remain methodical. Any impulsive reaction could be used against them. The next morning, Marcus passed the evidence directly to his superiors at the FBI and filed a formal complaint against Cooper for excessive use of force, racial discrimination, and endangering a pregnant woman. Local media began picking up the story: a pregnant woman in a wheelchair attacked by a white police officer, married to an FBI agent. The case quickly went viral on social media. Naomi, still fragile but resilient, gave her version of events to the local press. Her testimony was poignant. She described the fear she had felt, the injustice of the attack, and the speed with which Marcus had intervened. Every word reinforced her image not only as a victim, but as a courageous and determined woman. Cooper, for his part, was placed on administrative leave. His superior, aware of the seriousness of the situation and the media attention, knew that this affair could ruin the officer's career if there wasn't a swift and transparent response. Cooper tried to downplay the incident, calling it a misunderstanding, but the video and public testimonies were damning. At home, Naomi and Marcus shared a moment of silence. They knew the road ahead would be long, that the injustice was systemic, and that this attack was just the tip of the iceberg. But together, they were determined to turn their pain into strength. Marcus held Naomi's hand against her rounded belly, feeling the life they were both protecting. The incident would trigger investigations, public debates, and discussions about abuses of power and institutional racism. Naomi, thanks to her courage and Marcus's swift intervention, became a symbol of resistance and hope, proving that the truth, when defended with determination, can emerge despite fear and injustice. But even as the city awoke to this story, one question remained: would Cooper ever understand the magnitude of his actions, and would justice truly be served? A few weeks after the incident, the entire city was still talking about the assault on Naomi Harper. The videos had gone viral on social media and had been picked up by national news channels. Peaceful demonstrations were taking place outside the police station, denouncing racism and abuse of power. Naomi, supported by Marcus, had given several interviews, her calm and firm voice captivating the public's attention. Meanwhile, Dylan Cooper was under investigation. The evidence was irrefutable: videos, witness statements, and medical reports confirming that Naomi had been endangered. His superior could no longer ignore the matter. Cooper was suspended without pay, and charges of excessive use of force and racial discrimination were officially filed. His career, built on authority and intimidation, was beginning to crumble. Despite the trauma, Naomi felt stronger. She had faced fear, humiliation, and violence, and she had held on. Marcus ensured she received adequate psychological and medical support, remaining by her side every step of the way. Their already strong relationship grew even closer, built on shared trust and resilience. The day Naomi gave birth to their child, a healthy boy, she and Marcus stood side by side, their eyes filled with tears. The child, a symbol of life and hope, also represented victory over fear and injustice. The city, which had followed their struggle, silently celebrated this moment as a reminder that dignity and truth could triumph. For Cooper, the consequences were severe and public. He was sentenced to significant disciplinary action and mandatory training on diversity and non-discrimination. His reputation, forever tarnished, served as an example to other police officers, demonstrating that impunity was no longer automatic in the face of racial brutality. Naomi and Marcus, for their part, continued their fight for justice. They participated in awareness campaigns on civil rights, police brutality, and the protection of vulnerable victims. Their story became a national symbol of courage and resilience, a reminder that even in the face of fear and violence, truth and justice can prevail. And in the newfound peace of their home, Naomi gazed at her sleeping child in her arms, while Marcus held her close. They knew that injustice could strike at any moment, but they had discovered the strength to protect each other and transform adversity into victory.